Hello everyone! In this week's video, I'm going to show how to take a sketch that has been drawn traditionally on paper and color it digitally on the computer. So let's get started! So first we need to take a picture of the sketch in the sketchbook. When I take pictures of my sketches, I usually like to take the pictures in front of windows. That way the picture of the sketch has really good lighting and no weird shadows, and the color is usually good. I also place a towel behind my sketch because the paper is white and my shelving is also white, so I figured that'd be kind of boring, so I put down a blue towel underneath my sketch to give the picture a little bit more interest. If you want, you can also scan your sketch with a scanner, but I am going to be taking a picture of my sketch just because I kind of like how it looks. When I take pictures of my sketch, I like to take the picture from many different angles. That way I have lots of different choices to choose from, and then I pick which one I like the most and decide to color that one. So to color the sketch digitally, you will need a drawing software that has layers and layer modes. So this technique will work with many different drawing softwares like Manga Studio, Photoshop, Paint Tool Sai, any program that has layers and layer modes. Today I'm going to be using Manga Studio 5EX, also known as Clip Studio Paint. That is what I'm going to be using today, but this technique will work in many different programs. So first I'm going to rotate my sketch by going to Edit, Rotate/Invert Canvas, and then rotate by 90 degrees clockwise. This will make my sketch face the correct direction. So next I'm going to create a new correction layer. I'm going to go to Layer, New Correction Layer, and then Brightness Contrast. I'm going to increase the contrast until I am satisfied with how it looks. Contrast makes the darks darker and the lights lighter. So this helps brighten up my paper and darken my lines. And I'm going to make another correction layer by going to Layer, New Correction Layer, and then Level Correction. Level correction corrects the levels of the picture, so it makes darkers darker and brighters brighter, and just overall adjusts the levels of the picture. So sliding the slider on the left to the right makes the darks darker, and sliding the slider on the right to the left will make the brights brighter. So I keep adjusting the sliders until I'm happy with how it makes my sketch look. So next I'm going to right click on the correction layer's thumbnail, and I'm going to click Clip at Layer Below. Now what Clip at Layer Below does is it makes it so that that layer only affects the layer that it is clipped to. So I clip these layers to my sketch so that way they don't affect my coloring layers later on. So after I clip both my correction layers to my sketch, I'm going to create a new layer by pressing the New Raster Layer button. Now my layer does appear above my sketch, so when you do that it automatically clips it because it has clip layers above it. So I'm going to move that new layer under the sketch layer and then unclip it by right clicking on the thumbnail and then clicking the Clip at Layer Below. It has a check mark next to it, but I don't want it to be clipping to anything, so I uncheck that. And then I have a new layer. So next I'm going to make it so we don't see my sketch layer, that way we can see what I'm doing underneath the sketch layer. I'm going to press the little eye to the left of the sketch. And then we are going to, on that layer that we made, we're going to make the canvas white. So I'm going to go to the selection tool, and I'm going to use the rectangle marquee, and then I'm going to press the fill button on that little bar down there. And that will make my canvas white, so that way we are able to easily color underneath the sketch. So next I'm going to select my sketch layer and set it to the layer mode Multiply. I go to that little drop down menu right there, and then I select Multiply. Now this is very important. If your program does not have layer modes, I'm not sure how you would do this technique. Basically what Multiply does is it takes some of the color from the layer that is multiplying and some of the color that is underneath the layer and kind of puts them together. So this makes it so that we'll be able to color underneath the sketch layer, but our colors will still show through the sketch. So now I'm going to start coloring my picture. I make a new layer under the sketch layer, but above that white layer we made, and I start coloring in her skin. I am using the G pen to fill in her skin. You can use whatever you want to color the picture. I am using the G pen because it is simple and easy to use. So basically I just start going around the picture and I start filling in areas where I want her skin to be. I don't totally fill in the skin, I just kind of outline the area of where I want the skin to go, and then I'll use the selection tool later to help me fill in the skin. So now that I have her skin all outlined, I'm going to use the magic wand tool to fill in the rest of her skin. So first we're going to select the magic wand tool, and when you select the magic wand tool in the tool properties area, you want to make sure you have selected layer selected. Now this will make it so that our magic wand tool will only select in the layer that we are currently using. So it will only select the skin outline area that I have, and it won't try to select the area of my sketch. So this will make it a lot easier to fill in the skin. So after I do that, I select the area of the skin and then I go to increase selection size, and I increase my selection size by 2 pixels. I do this because it gets rid of these little pixelated lines that appear if you don't increase your selection size. So I increase my selection size by 2 pixels just to make everything more smooth. So now I'm going to fill in the colors for the rest of the picture. So when coloring the parts of the picture, I make sure each different color has its own layer. So the skin has its own layer, the hair has its own layer, the hat and the body have their own layer, and the eyes have their own layer. This makes the picture a lot easier to color, and if I want to change the color of something, it makes it a lot easier. So I planned for her hair to be a very light color. So for it to be easier for me to see, I decided to fill her hair in with a very dark color, and then I'm going to change the color later. But I actually do quite like the dark hair color. So there are a few different ways to change a layer's color. You can go up into the layer property area and select layer color, and that will let you change the color of the layer selected just by selecting a color that you want. You can also create a new layer and then clip it to the layer that you're wanting to change the color. So for me to change, say, the color of her hair, I would make a new layer, clip it to the hair layer, and then color a new color over that layer, and then I would merge the layer down by pressing the merge down button. So at first I was going to have her be a pink jellyfish, but then I decided to make her a blue jellyfish just because I liked how the blue looked. I ended up changing the colors a lot in this picture. So here I added a layer underneath all of my other color layers, and I was adding a blue background to my picture. I was going to have like an ocean background, but then I decided not to have that just because I feel like the ocean background made my character not pop out as much as I liked, and I feel like she kind of kept blending into the background, or the background kept looking kind of weird. So in the end I just decided to totally get rid of the background. So here I am making a new layer above all of my other color layers, and I set it to multiply. I'm going to use this as my shadow layer. So I set the layer to multiply, and this will help it darken all of the colors. And I use a dark blue color to shade the girl. I forgot to do this at first when I started shading, but I take all of the color layers except for the background one because I don't want my shadows to be going onto the background. But I take all of the color layers of the girl and I place them in a layer folder, and then I place that multiply shading layer above the layer folder, and that makes it so that I can color on just the girl without affecting the background. Now you don't have to add shading to the picture like this, or you don't have to add shading at all if you don't want to. I like using the multiply layer and then shading with the dark blue, just because I feel like it makes the picture really cohesive, and it's really simple, easy, and fast, and I like how the end result looks. So I keep adding shadows to the picture. I added shadows to underneath the hair, underneath her hat. I figured her hat would kind of cast a shadow onto her face. I also added a lot of shading to the face. Now this part was really fun. I created a new layer and set it to the layer mode, Add Glow. Add Glow makes things look very bright, and I really like using this mode when I want things to look very glowy or bright. So I use this layer mode and I add just a whole bunch of dots to her body and the hat. I feel like this made her look really cool. So now is the finishing stage. I'm going to make a new layer above all of my layers, and I'm going to fill that layer in black. And then I'm going to use my soft eraser, and I'm going to give it a slight gradient. I'm going to make all of the edges of the picture darker, and I'm going to make the middle of the picture lighter. This isn't totally necessary, I just like how it looks, and I feel like it gives the picture more of an atmosphere, and I just like how it looks. I also decide to erase the edges of my coloring where it meets the paper. I didn't really like how it just like cut off straight into the white of the paper, so I decided to erase the edges a little bit so she just kind of fades into the paper. And now the picture is done. If you can try this technique, I highly recommend it because it is a lot of fun. I really like this technique because it allows me to color my sketches without having to ink them, or without having to worry that I'll ruin the sketch by coloring it. I can just take a picture of the sketch and then color it digitally, and it's a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite techniques to use. So I hope you enjoyed this video and that it helped you, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!